second week of November, and BYU just ended their bye week, meaning they're getting back on the football field to host Idaho this weekend. I'm Jared Lloyd, BYU football reporter for the Daily Herald, and I'm here with Jason Franchuk, BYU football columnist. Now, last week was the bye week, and Jason, what was the biggest thing for BYU to do during the bye week after the loss to TCU?
Well, this is Bronco's MO. This is his 7th year, Jared, and he loves to test out the younger guys. He loves to see the scout team more, see what he's got coming along in the future. We know that he's worked on the punt game a lot, obviously after the TCU debacle. Not just Riley Stevenson, the punter himself, but the snap, blocking for it. They had so many miscues at TCU. Perfect time to run through some things and try and get over some of the regrets they have from not winning that game and not being in a little better position to win it. But I think you also want to see Riley Nelson develop. I think you want to see where he is as a quarterback. I'm curious to see still how, if they use Jake Heaps going forward and what his mentality is. But I think it was a good time for this team to get a break. This break came a lot later than most times for the Cougars, but they'll bring in, like you mentioned, Idaho, second team from the Gem State to visit BYU this year. So BYU helping out that economy immensely with, they've actually, I mean, you laugh, but they've had big state budget cuts there. So to have Boise State doing well and then to get Idaho and Idaho State into Provo, that's good for the schools and for their athletic departments.
Now, BYU has a lot of mistakes to clean up after TCU. They've got a lot of improving to do, and that's pretty much what the coaches and players are talking about right now. But we got to be honest, Idaho isn't really exactly a name opponent, isn't somebody people are very excited to see. Is this really that big of a game in your mind, Jason?
Well, I think you're the same as me. We saw players searching for anything to get hyped about on this game, especially when you go from playing at TCU, a former Mountain West Conference foe, in an incredible setting like the Cowboy Stadium, to go back, hey, nothing against LaVell Edwards Stadium, but 7 p.m. or so kickoff against Idaho, a 2-7 team that's coming off at least a win against San Jose State. Not nearly as big a deal, but I think this is, like you said it earlier today, Jared, this is like how they finished last year, aside from the Utah game. They played a couple lower-tier Mountain West Conference teams, then they got the Utah game. Now these guys get a couple lower-tier games, they'll go to Hawaii, and Hawaii's not as good, but it's still Hawaii, so that's a good deal for them. But like you said, so much to work on. You get a lot of seniors that are eager to play. This is the end of their careers. You can't underestimate the value of that. You got a lot of younger guys that want playing time. I think they'll make do. And where Bronco, a lot of fans complain about Bronco and how he gets a team ready for a big game, quote unquote, but the fact is you have to appreciate that he gets them to play well in these types of games, and a lot of teams get humiliated over the course of the year. BYU's been awfully good with Mendenhall at not having that happen in these types of settings.
Well, in this type of game, in my opinion, the biggest thing is to see how mistake-free they can be. They've made a lot of mistakes during this season that have cost them some games, cost them a lot of points, so it'll be interesting in my mind to see how BYU does against Idaho in cleaning up a lot of those errors. Well, we'll be there at LaVell Edwards Stadium on Saturday night, 7 p.m. kickoff as BYU takes on the Vandals.
Let's go get you a jacket, young man. You look cold.